Inside this room, all of my dreams become realities, and some of my realities become dreams.
All my life I've awaited your coming and dreaded it.
I like them French fried potatoes.
Insanity runs in my family. It practically gallops.
I always have a wonderful time, wherever I am, whomever I'm with.
This can't be happening, man. This isn't happening.
It's happening, and in real time, I'm finding out I might be the worst radio host of all time. I get Senator Mark Koran to come on the program. Love having him on. And so he gets on, and I said, just before going on, I said, Senator, how are you doing? He goes, I'm doing great, Al. And I go, you lying sack. I literally, the first things out of my mouth, though, guess who's coming on my program is let him know he's a lying sack. I apologize. As soon as I'm done, I'm like, that's just the worst opening line ever. Sorry about that, my friend.
Al, I'm good. You know, it's all perspective as well. Remember, we're also, none of us really ever plan to be in these roles, but we're blessed to be on the front line.
Sure.
And like I tell everybody, if you're paying attention and you're frustrated and PO'd,
yeah,
as a voter, you know, the few that pay attention, the only way you become more frustrated and PO'd is to get elected.
Let me ask you just personality-wise, because I've known you for a while, but we're not hanging out together and having beers. Are you able to compartmentalize that? God, the word is compartmentalize. Thank you very much. The babbling on. Are you able to do that?
I think it goes back to the who you are as an individual. So if you're afflicted with paying attention to all of those things, you can't stop paying attention. It's kind of part of your DNA, right? Mm-hmm. Are you more likely to pay attention? And for me, my background in government and always kind of being on the front line, whether it be when I was in St. Paul, standing up, participating, how mine is always about when government reaches out and touches you voluntarily or involuntarily, what's your recourse? And your recourse shouldn't only be to sue government for their gross overreach, because you pay both sides of that lawsuit. Yeah. And you know, and you don't, what do you win at the end of the day? So paying attention to that and then just getting involved, you put your passions or afflictions, just put you in those places. And this is my 42nd year. I was in the private sector in addition to just under 18 years in the Minnesota Department of Revenue and 20 plus years selling services into government. The things that work in government are delivered by private companies. That's what I did. Okay. And so combining it with the legislative years of service, hard to believe, Al, this is year 9. You know, I think you have to embrace your afflictions. I love what I do. I think I'm good at it. I think I know it well and represent our district well, but I also work all throughout the state to make sure that we win from a conservative politic perspective, that we can hold government accountable. And so and with 9 years.
But you didn't answer my question. I have a bad golf game, and it bothers my afternoon, right? I cannot just let one thing go. Are you able to get in that frustration mode, compartmentalizing again, and then go home? Because when you come on, I say, how you doing? Everything's great, Al. And I'm like, you have got to be lying to me unless you're able to put that in a silo somehow. You have to be one of the most frustrated men I would talk to this week.
I told you, you get more frustrated and PO'd, but you also have a voice and a vote. And so can I compartmentalize it? I still go out, I still have fun, but what I do, I enjoy. Okay. And so I also use the hatred, right? I went to the grand old days, right? You know, supporting Republicans down in St. Paul, and to see the people walk by, you know, that are just horrible, you know, unbelievable, angry people, or I have miserable lives. I don't ever look at it that way. I use those negativities or those things as kind of motivators, because I got 7 grandchildren. I don't need any more motivation besides making sure they got the greatest opportunity in the greatest country in the world, and I think one of the greatest states in the country, to be their voice. So that it fuels every facet of who I am. But I was that way before, right? Involved and afflicted, and now blessed to be in a position that you can be influential in a positive way to make those changes. And if we don't do it, who the heck's going to do it?
Well, I think God puts you where you got to be when you need to be there. So I think there's 100%. Something to that. So, okay, I can live with that. But now explain to the rest of us in fifth grade terms because I'm not a smart man. What in the world's going on? All of a sudden I hear now data. I'm following along. We're doing this thing for however many months you guys been. All of a sudden now data centers, that's an issue. I'm like, data centers? I start reading up on it. Minnesota is cold enough in the wintertime to really save heat bills, right? They open a window. They could save so much money. And we need the water. Oh, Minnesota's got a lot of water. Data centers want to be here. So what do we got to do to get them here? One time we were courting them. But now that's done, and now that's supposed to be one of the biggest hiccups in this whole thing. Why? What am I missing?
Where are we in a position where we have large corporations, businesses, by the way, the job providers, right, revenue providers and opportunity providers, begging to be here? I asked the same thing. I asked, why here? As a legislator, when surrounding Minnesota is there are a whole bunch of states that are a lot less costly to operate in. And we've seen that in steel industry. They don't even stop here and ask anymore. They just go elsewhere. But they want our raw materials. But in the data centers, they really interesting things happening with that. One, we've got about $80 billion of data centers being proposed in the state. A couple of them are signed deals. Rosemount, there's a big Meta data center.
And when you say that, that's not $80 billion. You say that's $80 billion to a bunch of guys with hammers and plows and can build things, right? I mean, that's what we're talking. That's the kind of money we're talking about.
It is, and in addition to that, right, the ongoing revenue, but the reason they're here is our lower energy costs. But the one thing it threatens, Al, and this is, I think, what you're talking about, is what's emerging is these things they're attacking the Green New Deal or the leftist policies. And so it's kind of an awakening. They don't want business. They don't want to expand power. This data center piece would require us to almost double our energy production. Well, it would certainly double our energy consumption. Double it. Double it. And in a mathematical factor where it's well beyond just adding new industrial complexes, large businesses. These things are so data intense or power intense that the Meta Center in Rosemont, 300 megawatts of power, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, uninterruptible. So we would have to have a massive, drastic change in base load, good, reliable, affordable power, clean, by the way, our air is cleaner than ever. And it blows it out of the water because they literally don't want us to expand our energy production or our consumption. This is interesting to me. I'm finally interested in something on my show that came on. The idea that if we got these data centers, does that blow out? I mean, and I don't remember what number we're on. At one point is by 2025, we'd have 50% of our energy done by, 2040
solar panels.
Yep.
Now, okay. So by 2040, so we're 15 years away. If you double the energy we need, doesn't that blow out their, I can't make it by 2040 theory? Because there aren't enough solar panels in the world.
Well, not only that, it'll never be solar and wind. Because they're not reliable. They're good when they produce for the 6-8 hours a day and intermittent, and not when you need it. These things would really change it, but it would also it really opens up the nuclear moratorium, right?
So this is what's driving them nuts. Now I get it. Okay.
Well, and so they're throwing in other things. Now they've got 100 megabytes equals a cup of water or whatever the heck it is. Those data centers are looking here. They could save 10% of their annual operating costs from a power perspective. They do require water. And so now there's a battle that, you can't use water for industrial purposes. Well, every business, right? I mean, one, we want to clean, we right? By the way, we got the same amount of water we've had here in millennia, but we need to keep it clean, and we need to make sure anything comes in and goes out in these types of environments is as clean as it goes when it goes in as it comes out. And so that's changing. But here's the other part I see now. I've got 5 or 6 senior citizens. Now, you and I are senior citizens. They're a little bit older than we are. And they are truly genuine, and they're following the global climate change, right? They want to leave the world better. We all do. I meet with them every year. Every year, it's like, where are we? What are we going to do? It's wind and solar, and we can't have natural gas. We've got all the talking points that you hear. This year, they came down to the office, and it was very interesting. Within 1 year, they basically said, Mark, we only got one issue. where, and I was like, wow, what is it? And they said, where do you stand on the nuclear moratorium? And I said, tear it up. Let's go. Let's finally build reliable, affordable, and really clean power. And they said, great, we're on board.
Oh, wow. People are waking up.
So I think what you're seeing is a moving of the goalposts, right? A restatement of the business problem from the climate perspective into the water, and then the other tussle that it really blows their 2040 plan out of the water.
Yeah.
And 2040 was to be renewable, all 100% renewable by then. By the way, Al, that's never going to happen. All it means is we're still going to burn. In fact, we would have to exponentially grow our natural gas peaking power plants.
Yeah.
And they don't want those either. And so, or they say they don't want them, but they want all the benefits of clean, reliable, and affordable power.
You don't want your power going out or the AC going out because the wind stopped blowing in your neighborhood. I got to go to break. When we go to the other side, I want to find out if because thank you. That explanation was fantastic. If you could explain to me how in the world we do not want in the state of Minnesota, and if it's the people not speaking up, how we did not want an office as inspector general or the bill that said, oh, by the way, if you work for us and you suspect there's fraud, you need to turn it in. We couldn't do either of those two things in a state with $600 million just walked out the door on us. We'll talk about that with Senator Mark Koran right after this on the Al Travis Show.
All the special interests are represented in St. Paul. But who speaks for you? Center of the American Experiment does. Our policy fellows dig into the tough issues that matter to you and offer common sense solutions on education, taxes, crime, and energy. American Experiment is the trusted, nonpartisan voice of Minnesotans like you. We are working every day to make Minnesota a better, safer, more prosperous place. We are American Experiment. Go to americanexperiment.org to learn more.
Achieving your financial goals requires individual planning and a comprehensive approach. At Midwest Money Management, our mission is to provide you with the knowledge, tools, and confidence to feel comfortable financially today and secure about tomorrow. Learn more at MidwestMoneyManagement.com. That's MidwestMoneyManagement.com.
Securities offered through JW Cole Financial Inc., member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services offered through JW Cole Advisors Inc., Midwest Money Management, and JW Cole Financial Inc. and JW Cole Advisors Inc. are unaffiliated entities.
Are you kidding me?
You know that comment you said to the radio? The thing that we got wrong?
Clearly, Brussels sprouts are the worst vegetable.
Call us and let the world know your thoughts. 855-257-7469. That's 855-ALS SHOW.
We've got him, Senator Mark Koran, figuring this stuff out for me, laying it out. So very early on in the session, well, first or second bill, the Republicans, as soon as Dems got back, put up a bill that basically said, if you work for us and you suspect fraud, you must turn it in. On a party line vote, they turned this down. I talking to a friend, he says, we don't have to do that just out of moral obligation to your job. Okay, we don't do it. We get this Office of Inspector General that Senator Gustafson was working through with the House or with Senate Republicans. I don't think maybe it wasn't the perfect bill. I don't know.
Oh, I think it was a very good bill.
Okay, but 60 senators, both sides, said, let's do this bad boy. I don't know who the 7 who weren't. I don't want to, but it goes to the House. 67 Republican or Democrats say, no, thank you. And basically it was a procedural event. It can come back next year. We couldn't in Minnesota get a bill to try to fix the walking away. We passed an autism bill. You want to help autistic kids, you just give us a name, put a shingle up, and we don't even care if the kids are real. Just give us names, we'll send you checks. We didn't care about that. We're going to get this done. And we can't stop fraud. What am I missing, Senator?
So on that bill, so I was a part of it. And so we strategically picked which members were going to made sure it was bipartisan, because we do think the only chance it really had was to get it to be a veto-proof majority.
Sure.
And, and we proved that in the Senate. But
and the reason for that, you believe the governor doesn't want anything to do with this thing, do you?
No, because the governor's solution to that, because he suddenly is interested in fraud, except for it's really just shuffling chairs and adding more people. His proposal was to add, I think, 90 new full-time positions to do what they've been funded to do for the last 30 years. And so what we did is we embarked on that, and we in fact, Al, we met practically every Tuesday night.
That's what I heard.
From the beginning of session all the way to the very end. We have 9 engrossments of the bill, meaning nine drafts of the bill.
Fixes.
And so we met every Tuesday night for at least 2 hours. We had probably 6 Republicans, 6 Democrats, Senate and House, our partisan research staff, committee administrators, our nonpartisan staff, the people who keep us in the boundaries of constitutionality and to make separation of powers. So we ended up with a very good bill. And so what we did is we created a bill that we think is modeled on many others, or a combination of many others around the state or around the country. Every Friday, we also met, 6, 7 of us met with a variety of inspector generals around the country, along with the Association of Inspector Generals, looking at how do you structure it in a constitutional manner that has all the tools necessary to investigate and create a consolidated single point of entry or single point of tracking for all things global within the state of Minnesota, from a theft of resources. And all we focused on right now is kind of the theft of hard dollars. You've seen the things that hit the headlines. But what we don't talk about is what are we doing to process in the way that the crimes occur? Cyber theft, security, access to data, the threats on those things as well. We need to develop and hone that experience in a consolidated manner, because we have organized crime is embedded and stealing hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars from us. And it's stealing vital services where we really need it. In addition to just stealing our hard.
So get to me, why does it not pass? What am I missing here? Great bill, let's get her done. What am I missing?
Because it threatens the governor. It threatens their ability to continue to feed, be plain frankly, the Democrat campaign apparatus under the guise of, think about the governor's talking about, whoa, what are you talking about? We're the victims here. Right. And so his agencies are solely responsible for the administration, oversight, and the compliance of every one of these programs, which have been, and they're all around Medicaid reimbursable activities. Yeah. And it's exclusively in a very small, a large group of people, but it's the same people defrauding all the programs. They won't do that because it's in their own backyard. It's their support network. They allow money to be filtered through the cities. They're creating jobs, but only for the thieves, and the monies are sending out of the country, and they can't be seen prosecuting their key people in their base, right? Keep down.
So do you get the idea? I only have a minute. Do you get the idea that the Minnesotans are having enough? Outstate. I mean, I'm not the buddy on my golf team says, "No, let them just keep the money." We want in southern Minnesota to have this stop. Will that show up in the ballot box?
I think that the only reason the governor's moving on it in year 5, year 6 of his term, is because his voters finally figured out in 2024 that what the hell is this fraud you speak of?
Yeah.
And they didn't know, because his national campaign really finally brought the news to Minnesotans for what the news organizations in Minnesota refused to provide. So it's a very good bill. We're not going to give it up. It's the right thing to do. At the end of the day, we save a lot of money on it. But at the end of the day, even the operational startup costs, we're talking about we would utilize the existing resources that are currently embedded in 10 different agencies. And we made sure it had all the capabilities it would need to be independent and highly functional.
Gotta fly. Love having you on. Thanks for wrapping things up for me, putting it in a bow. I appreciate you, Senator Mark Grant. Appreciate you.
Yep. Have a great day.
More after this.